Well, welcome along everyone back to the first ever Midweek Podcast, or I like to say Modcast for PPRO. Sadly, we will not be joined by our co-host Fanny. Has some complications today. But nevertheless, we have been joined by three extremely talented drivers, Dawson, Wade, and Jacob. Thank you guys so much for taking time out of the week and joining us on the podcast here.
Thanks for having me.
No problem.
So guys, today on the docket, we'll be starting off by talking about some chase odds for some of the drivers we have on the cut line. Next up, we'll be looking at some of the drivers already locked in and their chances to win the championship. And then our final topic we'll be looking at is going to be Daytona and what the random order brings up for them. And I just got note that we have a very special announcement about to be made by Wade and Jacob at the end of the podcast. So let's go ahead with that. Let's get started. So starting off, guys, so we know that we have a couple guys already in the playoffs and they've locked spots up already. But looking at Fan, Azwar, Random Shine, CR, they're all very close to the cut line. Fan is looking pretty well right now, but Azwar, Random Shine, CR especially, are very close to the cut line. They have a chance that there might be some switches, like some positions gained or lost in the last race of the before the chase. So what do you think that's going to bring for this upcoming race, and who do you think is going to make it?
Speaking.
No.
Anyone want you guys to answer that question?
Okay, I can hear you now. Okay, I couldn't hear anybody. I think the party
Okay, so Wade, the question was, going into this last race, we know that we have a couple of drivers that are close to the cut line, Azwar, Random Shine, CR mainly. How do you think that's going to change the way they race, etc., and how do you think the aggression will pick up as we get to the final laps of Daytona?
Well, depending on how the race is, if it's a late restart, it's going to be really aggressive. I think with the random order, you might not at the beginning see all the two-car tandems. I think you're going to see some like small little packs, I'd say. But their aggression will probably be high. They're going to be trying to get every spot they can, separate themselves from their competitors that they're racing against. But I don't know. I'm pretty sure the aggression will be pretty high. But I don't really know who's going to be fully aggressive, because I know Azwar's had some issues with aggression. CR, I've not seen a lot of the aggression out of, so I don't know. It's going to be interesting.
Absolutely. Dawson, what are your thoughts on that? I know that you already locked up a spot, but what do you think the mentality for those drivers is going into this final race?
Well, I think they just need to go into it just like it's any other race, as hard as that sounds. Because if they don't, then it's in the back of their mind the entire race. They're just going to be focused on, I need to gain this many positions and do this. It's just going to mess with the flow of the race for them. So they just got to go and relax, stick to their server that is, and just pull.
Absolutely. No, one of the drivers that haven't been racing as much, looking from outside to inside of the chase bubble. What do you what's your mentality if you are in one of the positions of random set CR that have to make up a lot of points at this race? What's your mentality going to this race? Right. But as you said, they have to be very aggressive. Does that intensity ramp up as the race goes, or do they just come charging out of the gates with everything they want, everything they have going into the first corner there? What's your take on that? Absolutely, man. Well, Jacob, I think we're having some issues with the stream, so I'm just going to go ahead and dial you up on Messenger, bud, so we can hear you better. Give a sec, guys. We're trying to get Jacob on Messenger so we can hear him better. Yep, there we go, Jacob. Can you hear us now, bud? That's good. Okay. So, guys, so I think Jacob was saying, explaining to what you were saying before with the intensity, how it ramps up.
Trying to balance that intensity, trying to make up spots or roll up spots. If cut-off driver is the right amount of points, like it's perfect. It's not going to be spots from losing the very easy to lose the Daytona. If they're on the outside, driver's really pushing the issues, so intensity is really going to pick up there towards the end, depending on what position you're actually in.
Absolutely, yeah, definitely. And then, moving on, guys, I know that we have a couple guys who already locked up a spot. Wade, you yourself, Dawson also, we're looking at a spot going in to this last race before the chase. What's your mentality, guys? Because I know you guys don't have anything to fight for, but let's say someone maybe who needs a position, will you give them a position like that, or is it just business as usual?
For me, it's business as usual. We'll try to win the race. My mentality at Daytona, if it's track racing, I try to lead every lap. But honestly, if I can have it, but at least try to lead every lap. If it's 2-car tandems, I might help out maybe my teammates right now. To help them get some points, but really it's business as usual. Try to win the race, not give up any spots any of them.
Absolutely. Dawson, how about you on the topic of that?
Yeah, I got the same philosophy on that. You know, I'm not giving up a spot to anybody, regardless of their point situation. You go out there trying to win every race, regardless if it's a cutoff race, it's whatever it is. I'm going out there to win. So, yeah.
Right. And then let's have a more sit-down, laid-back conversation, guys, here at this point. So we know Wade, yourself, and Dawson are locked in. How do you think you guys will fare in the playoffs? I know both you guys each have 2 wins apiece, and then we have Exit with 2 wins also, and Hawk with only 1 win. How do you guys think that the playoffs will play out this year? I know because all of you guys are very strong at each tracks. How do you think, we'll go off into the starting round? It's going to be at Indy. So it's going to be a very interesting track to see, because I know that we have some stronger guys at Indy. So how do you think that'll play off for you guys to start off with?
I mean, we were pretty well in Indy this year. We've not been Indy for my liking, but this season we really ran well there. Instead earlier in the season where kind of took us out of the win, but who cares about that? And then the second Indy race we ran pretty well, finished second to Dawson. I mean, Indy seems like it could be a good track for us, just not a winning track yet.
Absolutely. So Wade, as you said, Indy's not a winning track, but how do you get to that position where you can say, yeah, it's a winning track? How do you get there? Like, what's the work that goes in preparation of the vehicles, of yourself, mentality? How do you get to that position?
Really, just like I do every other race. Just gotta put myself in position to win. We've kind of, when we had chances to win, we kind of got in there late in the race, too late, to where we could not do anything to try to win. But
right, Wade. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Wade. I know that you're one of our more, seasoned drivers out there. What advice do some of the newer guys to, maybe take as they get more into this league? What's one of the main things that you would give to them to make sure they're at the end of the race, like you said, in contention for the win?
Try not to win it early on in the race. A lot of people try to win it on lap 1, lap 10, all the types of beginning of the race. But really, at the beginning of the race, you should really just be focused on surviving and putting yourself into a good position for the end of the race. Because I see a lot of people make a lot of mistakes early on in the race, and it takes them out of chances of winning later on in the race. So just making sure you're in position to win later on in the race, that would really help all the young guys.
Absolutely. And then Dawson, I know you won earlier in the season at Indy, so does that help build the confidence level going into the first race, knowing that you already have a win under your belt there?
Yeah, a little bit, I guess. Indy's actually my favorite track, and it's my best track. I run pretty well there. Yeah, but you never know. It's the playoffs. I mean, anything can happen. I mean, look at the past few races we've had. We had a race at Homestead a couple weeks ago where somebody was sitting in the track, and leader exit ran into them, and that cost him the win. And then Hawken would have actually get in the win. But you know, anything can happen in the closing laps. I mean, if you look at the past, I don't know, what 10, 15 races we've had in the league. There's been a caution with under 8 to go, pretty much 90% of the time. So usually strategy doesn't really come into play that much. It's about just who can avoid the wrecks and who can stay up front. Track positions is super important.
Absolutely. And then Jacob, going off the question for you about driving before the playoffs, being a non-playoff driver, what's your mentality going into the playoffs? It's only 3 races. It's a very quick burst. Do you maybe are you a little nicer to the guys in the playoffs, or what's your mentality for those races?
Yeah, that's pretty correct. But towards the guys in the playoffs, I mean, you have as much right to the track as they do. I mean, you're racing for something. Even if it's not a championship or such, you gotta go out there and do what you need to do and not worry about those guys more. I mean, you could be a little bit lenient on them, but you're racing for yourself and not be out of their way. People have to remember that.
Absolutely. Very true. Okay, guys, so moving on from Indy, we know that Indy we usually have a distinct group of guys. Going to Daytona, man, that's a wild card, isn't it? It's the second race of the chase. What do you think is going to be a major factor in that second race when it comes to who's going to continue on to the next race?
Me, I'd say track position more than anything. Really, if you're up front at the end of the Daytona race, you're trying all the chaos that's going to happen behind you. If you're fighting for track position the whole night, you can might as well say you're probably going to get eliminated, I'd say. Because it was a really big track position race with how the racing works and the draft works there on this game. It's a track position kind of game there.
So are you saying, Wade, that track position matters more than tires at Daytona?
Yes. I don't think tires really matter at Daytona.
Right. Dawson, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, tires don't really matter anywhere to me. I mean, they don't wear enough unless you have drag tires on them. Really, it's just how Ford's physics work. Except for road courses, actually. Sometimes, in fact, at road courses, you actually prefer older tires, which kind of sounds weird, but they have more heat in them and they have more grip, and you can just turn better with older tires. So, yeah, I think it's just more of a fuel strategy, and when you're gonna pit, tires don't really mean anything at Daytona.
Absolutely. Okay, guys, so with 2 races down, you guys are saying that, there's a lot of that come from the chase. Going into Homestead, the final race, there'll only be a couple guys left in the chase at that point. How do you guys prep yourselves? Because I've never been in that position where I have to, be perfect for a couple hundred laps. What really is your mentality going into that race? Because I know I've been asking that question a lot, what is the mentality? But truly, it's very hard for the viewers to understand that unless you're in that situation. So, Wade, I'm going to start with you. I know you've won at Homestead, especially at the end of last year. How do you prep yourself going into that race? That could be the night before, the day before, whatever it could be. What's your prep for that race?
Well, for me, I feel like if I spend my time prepping too much for that race, or really at all for that race, I'm going to struggle that race, because if I start hitting lines wrong, if I start making bad decisions, I'm going to beat up myself and just not be mentally right to go race or go for a championship. But really the same way I would any week. You know, we ran really well at Homestead this season. And, I mean, we've been pretty fast there, so I mean, same as any other Homestead race, really.
Absolutely. And then we know that Homestead, unlike Daytona and Indy, the draft isn't as important. It is quite important, but is it easier? Is it more of a driver's track? Can you make more passes there? What's your opinion on that?
With the passing we have now, I mean, it's definitely more skilled than what we had in past seasons, but honestly, I think it's the same way as Daytona's track conditions are HD, because really it's really hard to pass. And a lot of drivers have said that it's really hard to pass there this season, just because there's not really a second group. There's only one, really.
Right.
If you mess up the line, I mean, you can go all the way up and lose 3 or 4 spots. I mean, kind of like a little lower line, mile and a half, but I mean, it's super hard to pass, so track position can be super key.
Right, Dawson. What are your thoughts on that? Going with Homestead being the championship race this year.
Yeah, Instead, we've been pretty consistent there, but clean air is very important there. I was rooting for a chunk of the last Homestead race, and yeah, it was just super easy, just logging laps after lap, and then towards the end of the race, we had a driver, Random Shy, stay out. We almost wrecked with him, but we saved it, and then we ended up going all the way to the back after that. And it's just really difficult in dirty air trying to make passes. You know you're faster than the cars in front of you, but you just can't get the job done. There's only one lane, and it's really hard to go around them. So just gotta put ourselves in the best position for the end of the race, knowing that the first 90% of the race doesn't matter. Just gotta go for the good finish position.
Absolutely, like you said, getting behind people gets frustrating. How do you balance your aggression alongside with your, your patience? How do you balance that to make sure that you don't get yourself in a bad position, losing yourself the championship if you are in that position when you get there? How do you balance that?
Well, for the first 95% of the race, I stay extremely patient. In fact, usually when I start to go towards the end, it's just we know that there's going to be no more cautions, and just try to go for the win there at the end. But yeah, just stay patient, knowing that like if I'm in the back, or if I got a few cars in front of me, it's a good chance they're going to wreck each other for it. It's happened a lot this season that drivers wrecking each other. In fact, at one of our road courses recently, what track was that? It was with Optimal and a Random Shot in the last lap. They were dooring each other down the backstretch, and I was sitting there in fifth just watching them. I'm like, what are they doing? They weren't even close to the line, and just wrecking each other. And then Nova ended up getting the win. And yeah, so just trying to stay out of trouble.
And then Jacob, I know that you've wanted to have an oval win in PPRL for a long time. Do you maybe getting a win in this championship during the playoffs? Actually, if you have a chance, will you go for that win, or will you give it to one of the playoff drivers?
Definitely not the playoff drivers. I would not. I'm racing. Maybe help if I had a teammate in the playoffs instead of just random. Well, it's satellite, but you know what I mean. I would help him out, but if it's not anyone of that nature, just another driver on the track, to me, I mean, I'm not going to try to help anyone else out, really, besides myself. I mean, it sounds kind of selfish, but it's racing. It's just how it is.
Absolutely. At the end of the day, you are here for yourself. You're here to win. I totally understand the mentality. Okay, guys, so we're going to move on to our next topic, and our final topic, actually, of the podcast. Be our random start at Daytona. I know that kind of caught some people by surprise when Fan announced that. what do you think that's going to bring in store for the racing and entertainment value over that? How do you think that'll change the racing? Will that affect you guys in a good way? What do you guys think of that?
For me, I feel like it's going to be fun to race in a random order, not going to start until race time. I mean, it's going to be really fun, I think, on the stream that everyone's at, because one, you got people fighting for the playoffs with a random order. That's really going to make things interesting. They're going to be trying to get as many spots as they can early in the beginning, hopefully. And you might see more moves, because I feel like you're going to have some guys up there that maybe shouldn't be up there. That's going to cause some entertainment, hopefully. But,
absolutely.
I mean, it should be pretty fun to watch that.
Yeah, I think what you said, Wade, you hit some key points there. It's going to be very interesting to see. I think it'll definitely be fun for at least myself, going to be in the box. I think, yeah, like what you said, definitely. There's going to be some great passes for sure, especially if we're going to have a couple guys, some of the faster guys, they find themselves in the back. And, I think there's been a lot of conversation in the past, especially the past couple seasons, with drivers and stuff. How important is having a wheel at Daytona? Especially, 'cause I know the other ovals is important, but how important is it at Daytona to have a wheel?
It's important, I think, only for Daytona qualifying, because you can hold a steadier line than other controller drivers. So really, for qualifying in Daytona, it really helps. I mean, the race helps a little bit, but really, anyone can win at Daytona with a controller or a wheel, but qualifying is what really helps the wheel at Daytona.
Absolutely. Dawson, how about you, bud? What do you think of the random order and then having a wheel versus a controller at Daytona?
Yeah, first off, the random grid, I don't think it's going to make a difference to me, at least just because of how long the race is, how many cautions there are. Usually, every PPR race, I mean, I don't really keep track, but I'm assuming that usually every race it's about 9 to 10 cautions, so I'll have plenty of chances to get to the front if you're wrecked at the beginning, or if I start in the back, be able to get my way up there. And then, I think everybody has a good chance of getting to the front there just because of how long the race is. You just got to put yourself in a good position. And then same thing for the wheel, yeah, just qualifying that makes a difference. During the race, honestly, you can't even tell who has a wheel or who doesn't. It's basically the same.
Right. Going off what you said, Dawson, yeah, 100%. I agree with you. There's a lot of cautions. So, do you think that we'll find our regular players up at the top of the field as we get closer to the end of the race? What do you think about that?
I mean, you never know, honestly. The wreck could happen up front, and those guys who are usually in the back get cycled up to the front. So it's just so unpredictable between us sometimes. And then other times it could be super predictable when you have guys out front with the best strategy, knowing, oh yeah, that like sometimes you'll know those guys are gonna be up at the end. For example, we had Jacob and Kart Racer. I don't know, maybe a season ago. They were dominating Daytona tandem in the entire race, and then they ended up getting wrecked towards the end. So you never know sometimes.
Absolutely, I agree with that, man. Daytona is one of those wild card races. Jacob, what are your thoughts about that? Having, the random order. Do you think for some of the smaller drivers, some of the smaller teams, do you think that's going to be a real advantage for them, or do you think they'll fall back fast?
I think it's going to be a mixture of both, but overall, I think experience will come throughout the race, such as people that can tandem very well, such as Exif, Hulk, and Wade.
Right.
Those are very big threats there. Cart and I, if we were there, but I don't think either of us will be. But overall, I think it could help for a bit, but it's going to be like real life Daytona or any other Daytona race we've had, or really any NASCAR race we've seen this season with the random order. It's just going to sort itself out as it goes through the race, but I do believe we'll see some early cautions and maybe a few more than we'd want with this, but I think it's worth trying.
Absolutely. And then, this is a question for everyone overall. Do you think there will be major repercussions with this random order, like for the chase implications, will there be major implications in general, or do you think it won't shake it up too much?
I don't think it'll shake it up as much as some people think because the race is so long. So if you get in an accident early, you still have 120 some laps to get your track position back.
It's a 135 lap race, so yeah, it's a long one. Yeah.
I don't really think it's gonna shake up anything really. I feel like what Jacob said, it will sort out towards the middle of the race where you'll start seeing who the players are.
Right, Dawson. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that question again?
Yeah, I was just asking. Some people have been saying that there'll be major chase implications with this random order if people can't get up to the front. What are your thoughts on that?
No, I doubt it. Because if you look at the points, Azor's plus 12 on the cut line, and we know that the gap from the last place person to the second place person is. I mean, if there are 16 people there, and then the gap from 16th to second is only 15 points. So there's not that many points out there on the line. So I don't think it's gonna have any implications towards the chase. I mean, Azor having to finish 12 positions ahead of Random Shot, that's pretty much guaranteed gonna happen if they both show up because of the fact that we'll probably have some guys disconnect from the race due to whatever issues they're having. And at the end of the race, we'll probably only have 11 or 12 people. So basically what Random Shy has to do is win and hope Azor finishes as far back as possible. That's the only way I can see him making the playoffs.
Absolutely. So I'm gonna get all of your opinions on this. So do you guys think that Random Shot has a legitimate chance to make the playoffs, or even CR? He's only 5 points back, but is it a legitimate chance to make it, or is it more of just he's gonna just shoot a shot? Do you think he has a legitimate chance though, showing up for Daytona this Saturday night?
I'll go ahead and speak for that one. I mean, we've seen that Random Shy has shown a little bit more speed than Azor, so I feel like in the playoffs, I feel like Random Shy would have more of a shot than Azor. But I feel like the only reason that Azor is there is because he's made every race. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's had some good finishes, but I feel like he's only there just because of the fact that he's shown up. He's gotten points every time. I haven't seen him lag out once, so good internet connection for him. But yeah, it'd be pretty disappointing him not making the playoffs, knowing that he's made pretty much every one, the one that he was suspended for. But me personally, I'd rather see Azor in the playoffs, knowing that he's less of a threat than Random Shy is.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
No. Go ahead,
I
Wade.
feel like-
Go ahead.
I feel like Random Shot would have an advantage at Daytona because you're going to have to be aggressive if you're going to make it, but with that points difference, it's going to be hard. But I'd like to see Azor, just like what Dawson said, because Random Shot is showing a lot of speed. This season, I kind of agree with that. Azor's kind of there because he's showing up every week, not saying anything against him, but it's kind of there for that reason. So
in the end of the day, if it came between Azor or Random Shy getting that position, would you guys help out Azor in that scenario just because it'd help you guys out in the chase?
I would hope I'm not in that position to have to help him out. I'd like to be in the lead. I mean, I don't really want to help anybody else. I don't want to really affect that points battle. I'd like to open to them to battle for it.
Right. Well, guys, at this point, all of our segments have been covered for the day. And at this point, we do have an announcement from Wade and Jacob, so I'll hand it off to them at this point.
Let Wade talk first. Let me know what
Yep.
goes on.
So Wade is going to go ahead and start off the announcement. So, Wade, you're on the stage.
So, next season for me in the 88 team, we're going to be leaving ABR. They're shutting doors, so all the drivers there are going to be free agents more than likely. And this 88 team will be moving on to Shift Motorsports. Really excited for the move. Got a lot of friends over there that I know how to work with. That's going to be really fun. Going to be real successful, I feel like, for us.
Well, you guys heard it here first. Wade, official announcement, is moving to Shift Sports with the number 88 car. And ABR is officially disbanded. At this point, there's no other word if ABR will continue. And that means Fan and Deathbro will also become free agents. And at this point, we're going to hand it off to Jacob, who's going to be the Shift co-owner, who will give us a word about that.
Yeah, Wade, we think about getting Wade for a good bit, and someone of that caliber, which I put up there with the elite drivers by far. No even thought about that. It made too much sense to put him on the team, so along with putting Wade on the team, we also brought random Shayab from being a satellite car to a main car. He's still going to stay in the 17. And taking random spot, we put in JW Reno, which is a good friend of Carter and I's, and wanted to get him onto the team in some extent, so he's going to be taking over to the satellite car in the 57 next season.
Well, I wish you guys the best of luck at this point, and at this point we will conclude the podcast. I'd like to thank everyone who watched, especially live. I know a couple of you guys have watched the whole stream, so at this point I'd like to thank everyone for coming out tonight, and if you guys are watching this later on the YouTube channel, make sure to go check out the Wix webpage to sign up. If you're already not signed up for next season, we'll have a little bit more information as we get close to the end of the season at this point. And at this point, we're going to conclude it. I'd like to sign off along with Wade, Dawson, and Jacob. Thank you guys so much for coming out, and have a great night.